Hello, Brent here is here. Welcome back to my living room. Wanted to make a video for you about something that occurred to me a couple days ago, and I think will also be helpful for you. Because this is on the subject of your life's purpose, or put differently, what do I do with my life? Have you ever asked yourself that before? You probably have. A lot of people ask themselves that question. You'll have like a moment where everything is quiet and you're thinking, shit, what am I do? What do I do with my life? What am I actually doing? What's my purpose? What am I here for? It's a question that bugs a lot of us. And it's a question that, even though a lot of books have been written about it, and there's been a lot of research and study, including myself, there are no real definitive ways to answer this question, to look at a person and say, hey, this is what you should do with your life. Hey, this is what your purpose is. And I've come into some pretty cool insights that have allowed me to relax around this question. And that's what we're going to get into now, presently. So the main idea is that it's not actually possible to answer this question. What is the purpose of my life? And the reason being is that if you look at any natural element of the universe, like you could go to a mountain, or you could look at a leaf and say, what's the purpose of this leaf? And what would the answer be? There really isn't one. Just the thing is with a question like that is that if you ask a leaf what's its purpose, the question presupposes that you need to have some sort of thing that you can say about something in order for it to exist. In other words, if you're asking this question, it's like you're saying that in order for something to exist, it needs to be able to justify itself or validate itself. And is that true? It's not true. Because if something exists, it's enough. Just the fact that it exists and just the fact that it's here, that is evidence enough that it should be here. You wouldn't go up to a dog or a cat or a river and say, what's the purpose of your existence? It's just something that's there. It's just part of the play of creation. It's just a part of ongoing creation. Now, what's nice about this? What's nice is that with all this said, you still have people who ask themselves all the time, what should I be doing with my life? What kind of career should I have? What should I do this or this way? What kind of path should I take? And it's a lot easier to answer if you bring the question into a much more immediate sense. If you bring the question right into this moment and ask yourself, what is my purpose right now? And what's fun is that if you say, what's my purpose in general, the question is so vague and so unanswerable, viewed from a greater perspective. How could you possibly look at a human and just in a sentence or even in a paragraph or even in a book summarize why it's here? It doesn't compute. You can't really say that about a living organism. But if you come into this moment and say, what is it for me to do right now? What is the universe asking of me right now? What am I called to do right now, if anything at all? When you bring that question into the moment, you can get an answer. Except the answer doesn't come in a heady way, a cerebral way. The answer comes on a more physical level. It comes on a bodily level. It comes on an intuitive level. It comes in the form of intuition. All animals, insects, living creatures have this strange sense of what to do, without thought, without intelligence, without reading a book about it, without stress about what to do, without anxiety, without depression, without cluelessness or hopelessness. Throughout not even just this earth, but the whole universe, everything that comes about naturally and organically, at a good pace, at the proper pace, with perfect timing. And everything has been able to sustain itself and maintain itself and continue and move through the motions of birth, life, and death without ever asking itself how to live. How should I live? What's the best way to live? What's the best way for me to live? Because all things besides, thinking humans, the only question they'd ever ask is, what is there for me to do right now? And they wouldn't even ask it like a question because they're so tuned in with their physical selves that on a moment by moment basis, the physical organism just moves in whatever way feels most natural. It's something that is for us too. It's this cool sort of undercurrent of the universe. The universe has this flow. And because you exist as a physical organism, you are part of that flow. The flow moves through you. It moves in the form of your intuition. But a lot of the time, you'll feel the flow pulling you in a way that to your mind may not seem so smart. And that's because in your mind, you have all sorts of ideas about who you are. You have ideas about what your life is. You have ideas about what you should be doing. You have ideas about the form your life should take. And you have ideas about your abilities and about what's possible and what's not possible. And typically, the mind, it has this need to be in control. That's one staple of those of us who spend a lot of time in our minds, is this constant need to feel like we're in control and to feel like our life is going somewhere. And that's the story that we always have going on, that like life is not quite good enough. It's okay, manageable, but essentially lacking. And if we just follow through with the plan, follow through with the steps, and keep doing, even if it doesn't feel good, we'll do it, and then eventually we'll make it to the promised land. We'll make it to the other side. We'll make it over the hill. And then once we get there, then it'll be okay, and everything will be okay, and then we'll finally be able to feel blank. Whatever it is that you are most hoping for once you get over the hill, over the challenge, so to speak. I think you know what I'm talking about. The promise of what you're really waiting for is there. But of course, when I put it like this, it couldn't possibly happen that way, could it? Because that which you are most waiting for after all the challenges are done, after all the things are done, after all the boxes are ticked, after you finally closed all the loops that your mind has in place, that state of peace or wellness or satisfaction that you're just so waiting for and hankering for and working towards, it's only available in a moment such as this one. It's only available right now. And that is done, it's achieved by tuning into the flow of the universe and answering the immediate call of what is asked of you and what's required of you. It also takes the form of just like whatever feels the most correct on a physical level. Because there's always an idea of what is the correct thing to do, but we're not talking about that. Whenever it comes, you'll find again and again and again and again, for myself and for everybody, you'll find that there will be a point, a choice point that you get to where you're feeling intuitively pulled one way and your mind is like, no, let's go this way. And the decision is between that which feels correct, perhaps exciting or interesting or curious or new or fresh, but is a little bit dangerous and unproven, or what's known and what's safe. We run into decisions like these all the time, and we so much want this to be like, what our purpose is, but it's not. It takes courage. We have to summon our courage to move in the direction of the unsafe, untested, unproven new way. It's what Wayne Dyer would call a somersault into the unknown. And it's what Alan Watts would say, jumping into the abyss and finding yourself again and again and again and again and again in a feather bed. I don't think it ever stops being scary. The jury's still out with this, and you may want to hear other people's thoughts on this, but it seems that there is always a scary decision to make when it comes to aligning yourself deeper with your purpose. But what you can do is you can just begin to realize the pattern of, I feel pulled this way, and it feels safe and known to go this way. But and even though it still feels risky, I'm going to jump into the unknown because I'm beginning to trust the unknown on a deeper level. That is something that we can do. We can develop a deep trust in the unknown, and a deep trust in nature, and a deep trust in our own sense of intuition. Because we just keep following the intuition, and we keep finding ourselves being rewarded for it. Personal story, one of my biggest fears was always that of wasting time. Am I wasting time right now? And so I woke up this one morning, and my mind was like, okay, here's the work we need to do. Here are the videos we need to shoot, stuff to write. But I'd sit down at my desk and start to work, and my body was just like, no. My body was just refusing to move. And I realized, oh wait, my body needs to stop. My body needs to chill. And ultimately, I realized that I need to stop being propelled into work by my sense of fear. And so I just sat there at my desk and just experienced my fear head on. I just breathed with it and moved into it, and just waited for nature to move me instead of believing and buying into my fears about wasting time. When I did that, I realized, oh man, everything is getting done in its own time. So that's it. That's it for today. Just a short video. Just want to remind you that everything is getting done in its own time, and that there's great wisdom in you, tremendous wisdom that is coded not just in your mind, but in every cell and in the DNA and in the bones, and it's everywhere. And if you just feel into it, it feels like intuition. It feels like joy, curiosity, fun, relaxation, relief. That's what it feels like. And whenever you make the decision to align yourself, even though it's not safe and not proven, you'll see for yourself it almost never goes unrewarded. Probably never goes unrewarded, but I can only speak for myself. Hope that helps. Thank you so much for watching. Hit me up if you have a question, and have a good day.